Hey everyone, today is the day when we're finally gonna finish reading this fanfiction. You're probably all gonna think it's been too short, or you've read it too fast. But not to worry. I'm sure the next ones will be longer than this one. So, without further ado, let's get into the final chapters of Revival Darling. Chapter 20. Wilson Again. Ian was slowly wakening up from her nap, as all she could remember was that the keeper knocked her unconscious. She felt as if something was moving her, but also someone was talking very close to her. The voice sounded all too familiar. And from the hollow darkness, from the wretched abyss, a savior comes at last. That's what the voice said, and this all sounded too familiar to Ian. Once she reached back to normal, she realized she was laying on her side, and once she looked in the direction of the voice, she couldn't believe her eyes. It was Wilson. Wilson? Rest yourself, Ian. You're still weak, Wilson began. The keepers can be relentless to strangers, but there's nothing to fear as long as I'm with you. You're safe now. That's none of Ian's concerns right now. She wanted to punch him in the face. She looked at him with angry, glowing eyes. You did this to me. You brought me here. Turned me into this thing. It doesn't make sense. I've never done anything to you. Wilson got a little fed up. He stood up. Open your eyes and look around you. He calmed down a bit. Then he got a little too close to poor Ian. None of this makes sense. Drawn walls, nightmarish creatures. An ancient studio that died out almost 30 years ago. He finally backed away and sat back down. It's all fiction, utter nonsense. And yet, he then grabbed a case that was next to him and laid it on his lap. In here, it exists. It breathes. It flourishes. Reality guided by its master's pen. The foundation for a new reality we can bleed into our own. He then grabbed a can, and Ian wondered what it was inside. Just think of it. Anything we create in here, we can release out there. He opened it, and it turned out to be a can of ink he dropped into his hand. Ian then continued to listen, as Wilson continued to tell her the world must be controlled and other stuff you saw in the video from Gamers. That's when the Ian transformed into a small Bendy. Ian's eyes go soft, as it was indeed Bendy. It waved at her. Wilson further explained as he played with Bendy. It was like he was torturing him, and Ian wanted to save the small Bendy, but she must also rescue the real Bendy as well. The poor girl felt embarrassed to ask this from Wilson, but she wanted to keep the Bendy figure that he was playing with. She felt her cheeks blush red as she spoke. "May I please keep it?" "Of course, my dear." "Here," Wilson said as he put Bendy back inside the can, closed it, and gave it to Ian, who was secretly happy to keep it. But then she had a question that she kept inside of herself and needed to know. "What do you want from me?" She felt uneasy as she asked this. Wilson immediately responded, and at first he felt uneasy to admit it too, but he admitted that he needed Ian's help to save his father's life. Ian was dumbfounded and shocked as she held the can where Bendy was inside safely. That's when both Wilson and Ian looked up as they heard noises, and the old creepy man told her that it was their stop and that they could talk more once they were safely inside. Ian stood up from her seat and decided to take a quick look around before she left the train with Wilson. How big was this studio to have an underground train there? How rich was Joey Drew when he was still alive? She couldn't enter through other doors, and that's when her gem pipe caught her eye as he lay in the corner of the seat, a few meters from Wilson and Ian on the train. She grabbed it carefully. "Stay close," Wilson began to say. "This place isn't as safe as it once was." Wilson began to walk ahead while Ian was shocked to see keepers guarding the place. How did he create these creatures to attack her brutally? She was knocked unconscious because of it. While she was on her way to Wilson, she saw a keeper holding a lost one against a wooden wall with a single hand, which creeped the poor Ian out. She felt sorry for the lost one, but she couldn't do anything about it. She got up to Wilson. "The demon's evil continues to spread. This world began to shatter." As Wilson furtherly explained, thinking that the girl was listening, she felt a peep inside her head and heard the ink demon's voice inside her head. "He's lying, Ian." "Be quiet," Ian whispered harshly to herself. "What did you say?" Wilson asked her, standing in front of the lever. "Nothing. It was nothing." Ian felt ashamed of herself. What if Wilson heard her say that? What if he hears the demon's voice as well? Wilson hummed as he pulled the lever down. "Almost there. Just a quick stop. Just a quick stop. Won't take but a moment." As Ian walked on further, she stepped herself upon hearing a familiar voice, feeling startled. The subject will stand in the designated location. Ian looked at the ground and saw a circle that the keeper must have spoken about. So when she stood on it, she was being scanned. Literal object detected. The subject with some metal weapons for further screening. Disarm now. Ian looked around where to put until a table with a shotgun and an axe got her attention. Who did it belong to and why were they here? She wanted to know. She didn't want to disarm herself. What if she was being attacked? She sighed sadly as she placed her gem pipe on the table. The examination continued one more time until it was finally over. The keeper declared that she may enter into the new world. Chapter 21. Betty. Welcome to the civilized world, Wilson began, introducing Ian to his new place. As she looked ahead of her, how do you like my signal towers? Then unify unify the Indemon's powers, so he cannot pass them. I wish I could say I invented them, but it seems our friends at the Gen Corporation had a demon problem of their own long ago. Finally, after Wilson stopped talking, Ian decided to take a look around. But what caught her attention was the portrait that was of Wilson and the Ink Demon. Wilson was like the hero in defeating the Ink Demon, but in reality, Ian knew that Wilson was an enemy as well. But he needed her help to save his father's life, right? Oh, how naive she was. Wilson was a master manipulator in any way you could think of. But what also caught Ian's attention was that of a female figure that looked like a real-life doll, if you take a look at her. She really did look like a doll in real life, and she wore a dress that suited her perfectly. Wilson walked up to them finally after like a slow pace. And now, my dear, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot to prepare. We'll talk later, I promise. Besides, you must be very tired. A quick rest will do you good. Betty will show you to your room. She's my housekeeper, among other things. It's nice to know the name of the looking doll, and she's named Betty, which was a pretty name for any girl. But her main attention was on the portrait. You never actually killed the Ink Demon, did you? Surprisingly, Wilson did not lie. No, he's too powerful to destroy, so we sealed him away, trapped him in a different form, one that was smaller, harmless. Ian's mind immediately clicked, but she didn't understand how there were two Bendis in the studio. They look completely different when being in their monstrous forms. One can run like a gorilla while the other looked worse 2 times. Remember Wilson? He created the good Bendy and the demon managed to escape his clutches from him. If you still don't get the story right of the 2 Bendis, then here's maybe a better explanation. The one that looked horrifying 2 times worse was around ever since the events of Bendy and the Ink Machine. He was also once the gorilla that ran fast, trying to kill Henry, but he survived. After the events, the Ink Demon somehow survived the events and was involved in a more horrifying form. And as you know about the good Bendy explanation, he was created and experimented on by Wilson, and the cheeky demon managed to escape Wilson's clutches. Yes, the good Bendy also had a form that was horrifying, but he was a lot like Ink Bendy. So, I hope you understand better now. There's some nice fresh blankets all laid out for you. You'll be dreaming in no time, Bendy said to Ian. Ian gave a small smile to Betty before turning to Wilson, who was about to close the door. Wait, Wilson. One more thing. If you needed my help, why didn't you just ask? Wilson sighed. Would you have believed me? He then closed the door. Betty said to come along to Ian, to which she obliged and followed the housekeeper of the place. Betty talked to the Ink girl, and Ian didn't mind speaking to her as well, since Betty seemed lonely these days. Yes, she admitted that she looked after the guests, but they can't either speak or were completely mad. Once they arrived at the destination, Betty opened the door and mentioned that it was the finest room in the house, which made Ian speechless, and thought kind Wilson was for this. But still, her gut told her something else. Do not trust him. There was a bed, bathroom, and other stuff you can think of that a bedroom had. There was even a book on the bed against the cushions. Ian couldn't help but be upset. She wished that Bendy was here with her. She then walked up to Betty, in which she asked Ian if she had any questions. Is it always night here? It's always dark, if that's what you mean, for as long as I can remember, Betty responded. Are you very old? Ian got what she asked and felt ashamed of herself. Maybe she shouldn't have asked. No, Betty began. As far as I understand, I'm something quite new. Although I didn't turn out the way I was supposed to. One in a long line of failed experiments. But Wilson will keep trying. Then Ian continued to ask questions which Betty didn't seem to mind at all. The girls communicated and even talked about Wilson, the experiments, and the realm of the Yin Demon. This made Ian think about her Bendy who saved her life from the Yin Demon. She needed to rescue him as soon as possible, but how can she be able to sneak away? She decided to follow the first step, and that was to catch the trust of Betty and Wilson, even though Betty didn't do anything wrong. But Ian thinks that Betty will tell Wilson everything about everything if she dared to tell Betty her plan about rescuing Bendy. But if she accidentally spills that she and the good Bendy were together, Wilson might do something worse. We cannot let that happen. Chapter 22. Evil Alice. Ian checked on the list and ingredients that lay on the drawer table that she saw laying in the corner of her eye. As Betty said, it worked very fast and warned Ian to follow the instructions carefully. But wait, what if she wasn't careful and accidentally overdoses herself? Can she even die? She didn't know. Then one title caught her attention. Jilsen? What's a Jilsen? Then a new mission appeared in her mind, and that was to find the Jilsen. But where could it be? She looked around everywhere in her room, such as the closets, drawers, the bathroom, nothing. She then walked towards the door where Betty left and opened it. She looked around and saw that there was no one nearby or in sight. Most of the doors were locked up tight, so she couldn't get in. There was even a small library that she found. She enjoyed finding that place, since she enjoyed reading, just like a Disney princess. Just like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. One room caught her attention, as there was a piano along with a fish tank. That's when something told her gut to go back to the library and check it out again. Wait, the books! She immediately went back to the small library, and the fish guidebook caught her attention. So, I'm looking for a fish? There's gonna be one around here somewhere, Ian said as she thought carefully to herself. That's when a light bulb appeared in her head and smiled to herself. When she entered the other room where the piano was, there was also a fish tank that she remembered. She must get that fish. She left the library and ran towards the same room where the piano was. When she walked towards the swimming fish, she made a comment about how that definitely was a fish. She reached her hand into the water and couldn't help but feel at least a big relief for coming into contact with it, even though this world was strange. She tried to grab it but groaned, "Ugh, he's too fast." That's when another idea appeared and she carefully moved the piano close to the fish tank and pressed random keys to play. She realized it worked and it paralyzed the fish or something. That did it. When she moved closer to the fish, she realized he was asleep. Oh, she got the fish and called him a little stinker before someone caught Ian. Poor girl got scared a lot. Then she gasped and dropped the fish back into the tank. It was Betty. I forgot the chosen again, didn't I? Betty began saying. And there's already ground up in the kitchen too. I'll bring it to your room straight away, shall I? Now that you put Harold back into his tank, you can go now. He nodded with a nervous smile before walking back to her room again. Betty was fast that she disappeared. How did she do that? Ian went to the bathroom and saw that there was a cup ready to be drunk. Ian filled the cup with water and took 3 sips before gasping upon seeing a figure that looked very similar to Alice Angel, whom Ian met at the very beginning of her journey. She dropped the cup and fell on the floor. Nighty night, the evil version of Alice responded before Ian fainted and closed her eyes. Later, Ian began to flutter her eyes before she heard the evil Alice saying, "Ah, awake at last. I was almost afraid you'd miss my party." Excuse me, what? Wasn't Alice afraid that she nearly killed Ian? What a bitch. What? Ian saw Alice sitting across from her, sitting like a queen before taking full detail. They were 6 lost ones sitting tied up on the chairs, with bags over their entire heads, covering even their faces. Were they dead? What's going on? Ian exclaimed angrily. Oh, seems you're just a little overwhelmed. It's all right, honey. I understand. It's not every day one gets to bask in the glory of an angel. An angel? Ian asked, and watched how the angel got up from the chair, replying, Alice Angel to be exact. That's who I am. Sent from above, impending perfection. What do you want? Ian didn't trust the so-called Alice that was standing across from her. What did she want? Perfection? Alice couldn't help but laugh and walked up to Ian, making the poor girl uneasy. Right to the chase. I like that. The truth is, honey, you're one of a kind. And to put it bluntly, what I want, it's your face, removed to your skin, peeled away like paper, and your insides torn out and tossed on my table. Custom parts ready for my delicious harvest. And with your generous sacrifice, I'll be beautiful. That's it. Ian rolled her eyes, and Alice saw that she squirted at her. Alice continued on and on until she announced that it was time to have fun. Ian had a bad feeling about it after all. That's when Alice suggested playing riddles, to which Ian responded firmly, No! Alice then made a deal with Bendy's lover. If she got the puzzle right, she can walk away and be free to her freedom. But if she gets it wrong, she'll fry, as Alice liked to say. Ian looked mad. She didn't want to do this, but she needed to be free in order to rescue Bendy. Ian climbed up and saw that it was like how she did with finding the coat, but it was animals, So in order to get it right, she needed to listen to the quotes of the backed up lost ones. So Ian climbed back down and listened to every bit of it. The fox thinks the rabbit smells of elderberry. I couldn't see them sitting together. The bird won't have anything to do with the rabbit, but I hear he likes to court danger by sitting next to the fox. The rabbit never sits with the bird, but he loves the playful company of the bear. The pompous fox, he wouldn't be caught dead sitting on the left, far too pedestrian. The fox has always hated the bear. They never sit next to each other. My friend the bear always sits next to the bird. After all, they went to school together. Once Ian got the puzzle, she climbed back up, put the puzzle correctly. Rabbit, bear, bird, and fox, and pulled the lever down before climbing back down and going to her seat across from Alice. Chapter 23, Tom and Allison. As Ian pulled the call correctly in and activated the lever down, she felt very confident that she was sure to survive. She climbed down the ladder and went back to sit in her place. Once she sat down and looked at Alice, the angel responded, "Hold on tight, honey. Here it comes." She then counted slowly from 3 to 1. And when she pulled the lever down, the lost ones, except for Ian, got electrocuted. Once Alice realized that Ian wasn't going to be killed, she yelled out, "No!" It was then dark for a moment before the light finally came back up. Alice was gone. Where did she go? Ian sighed in relief as she managed to survive instead of being killed. She stood up from her place and realized the doors were indeed open to her freedom, like Alice said. And as she went to get her gem pipe, the worst moment came. "I see you there." No one liked a party pooper. Once Ian finally got her gem pipe, she heard inky footsteps, and he was free of the backed up lost ones. So Ian managed to defeat them. Once they were dead, she deactivated the giant lamp thing that caused to go electrics with her gem pipe. She charged it back up, and once that was done, she saw a ladder and climbed up. She did have to flow at the other side. As she entered the room, she heard the door close up behind her, and then shots were fired. It was Alice, being a maniac. "No one humiliates an angel. No one. Now hold still, honey. This is gonna hurt." As Alice charged the shotgun, she started shooting again and laughed like a maniac. Ian luckily survived before it got worse. All Alice wanted was to be beautiful, so why didn't she get that the insides were more important than being from the outside? Sadly, the world was very manipulating. Ian did have to charge up her gem pipe a few times, destroy the locks, and open the doors. But just as she finally found a way up and got right behind Alice, she was about to banish her away, but it was too late. Alice noticed this and stopped Ian from banishing her. "How dare you touch me?" Ian then growled and pushed Alice off the balcony, and she screamed, but Ian lost balance and fell as well. She did hit her head a bit too hard that it took her a while to wake up, but once she did, she saw that Alice was about to shoot her. "Finally curtain, baby. Let's blow them away." She was about to shoot Ian until stab! Alice gasped and looked down, realizing she was stabbed by someone very familiar with a sword. Ian was taken aback. As Alice collapsed, it was the good version of Alice that caught her, and also the one that helped Ian through the journey. Ian was very happy to see her back with a wolf. It must be Boris. He looked very serious, but he looked softly at Ian as he helped her out and showed a small smile. Ian thanked the wolf with the same smile as well. My face! Evil Alice reached out. You have my face! Good Alice pulled away slightly from her touch and corrected her. It's our face. Ah, I'm beautiful. Always were. Evil Alice let out an exhale one last time before she finally passed away. However, the good Alice didn't understand why this felt familiar to her. Isn't it maybe because she fought and stabbed the evil Alice before to save Henry's life from the events of Bendy and the Ink Machine? As the good Alice stood up, she looked at Ian and asked her if she was all right. Ian smiled happily at her. Alice, I cannot begin to tell you how good it is to see you. She then looked at Boris. And this must be your wolf. Alice smiled slightly. Ian, meet Tom. He's my protector, my friend. So it was Tom and not Boris. Both sweetened the names a lot for the wolf. Ian saw how Tom nodded at her while Ian nodded back at him as a greeting. She then looked at Alice. You both got here just in time. Now I understand why you don't like being called Alice. The machine creates many of the same forms, at least on the outside. On the inside, we're all pretty different, Alice pointed out. That's when something perked up in Ian's mind. Well, from now on, I'm going to call you something other than Alice. It just doesn't suit you. The conversation went on, and Ian decided to call her Allison, which the badass angel liked very much. Then the talk went about Wilson. Allison didn't trust him and called him their enemy. Even though Wilson planned to kill the Ink Demon, Ian decided to hear him out. After Allison wished her good luck, Ian first petted Tom gently, and he seemed to enjoy it a lot to touch. Allison smiled at that. Ian went away, and on the way, she found a note left by evil Alice, and Ian got her powers back, for which she was grateful. Now she can use them for emergencies. However, on the way, the Ink Demon spoke. They promised us peace, my sweetening, but they bring us even more pain. He then growled. Ian felt sorry for the Ink Demon now. He must be in a lot of pain. But Ian's mind snapped again upon remembering her true mission, rescuing Bendy. But where was he? Chapter 24, Final Battle. As Ian continued on her journey, she encountered the Keepers again. Seriously? She hated them. They were slow, but also powerful. Ian had to hide as well in order to not be seen by them. If they spot you, they were fast. Ian waited until the Keeper passed her and quickly went there to see what was going on. She quickly charged up her gem pipe and pulled the lever down, opening a secret passage door. As she entered, she wanted to groan loudly. You can hear the breathing of the Keeper, and the thing was nearby. Upon seeing that she was safe, Ian's attention was stolen by the music box. It was empty, like no figure, and the key to playing the music. She carefully picked it up. This music box could make a good distraction if I can fix it. She quickly found the key to it and kept it in her pocket, as she needed to find the tricky figure as well of Alice. Ian got herself nearly killed a few times, but she managed to survive and find all the pieces for the music box. And once she found a good place for the distraction of the two keepers guardians at the door, she said to herself, "Here goes nothing." Once she played it down, the music box immediately began playing, and Ian went to hide. Upon seeing herself that it was safe, she sighed in relief and dashed towards the entrance. Once she made it completely out, she saw Betty and the human-like dolls of Ian, feeling now very relieved. "There you are! Thank goodness! Wilson is waiting for you downstairs in the laboratory when you're ready." Ian nodded at her as thanks and went down the stairs towards the lab of Wilson. Geez, how long was this way towards him? Once she arrived, Wilson spoke through the speakers. "Ian, you made it." "Good. Come inside, my dear. We have much to discuss, but make sure you're ready. Where we're going, there will be no return until we've accomplished our mission." Ian's gut told that something bad was going to happen. But what? Allison was right. As Ian entered the lab, the door closed up behind her. What was going on? "Thank you for coming all this way. The Ink Demon is a formidable foe. To truly destroy such a monster, he must be dethroned, humiliated. For months now, I've been working on something that will do exactly that. Cast the demon and put a new deity in his place. Stronger, more powerful, and controllable. Together, we just need to unleash our ultimate weapon. Come, let me show you my creation." During that time, Wilson led Ian to a new area where his creation was held. Upon opening to reveal his creation, he didn't look innocent, even though he looks like it. Isn't he beautiful? Simple but elegant. A treasure. Powerful beyond anyone. The Ink Demon will fall, and we can have peace at last. Wilson seemed really confident saying this. However, Ian's gut became stronger, and she trusted that something was definitely not right. She looked at Wilson. "It could work, but it sounds risky. How will we control him? We don't want to repeat Joey's mistake." "No, we don't. All of the factors must be perfect. The right design, the right science, and right soul." Upon saying this, something more dangerous appeared, causing Ian to back away. She didn't understand. "What? Wilson, what's going on?" Wilson quickly stood in front of her again, saying that the last purpose was finally revealed. Ian's breath hitched, and she finally understood why she was in the lab. Wilson created his creation to kill the Ink Demon, yes, but he clearly said that he needed a soul, and that was Ian's soul. Ian backed away while calling Wilson insane, and backed away, feeling a bit scared. Ian wanted to use her powers, but she couldn't. Wilson didn't let that happen, and while struggling and fighting, Ian won and pushed Wilson to his demise/end. Finally, he was gone, and so Ian fought. She went quickly towards the new doors and went down, revealing a waterfall there, but full of ink. "You were born, birthed from the darkest shadows, Ian, my sweetling. It's time to ask questions, the ink demon said. A lever caught Ian's attention, and she pulled it down, revealing it to be Wilson's creation. God, he looks scarier and uglier as well, especially since you can see the head of Wilson sticking out. Ian was scared at first as she backed away, but Bendy appeared in her mind, and she got determined to save him. That's when she started to fight. She had to be careful with his claws and the dangerous sting he liked to throw at her. Ian dodged by either moving on time or flow. She had to deactivate 4 big things to get her powers back at first. That's how she managed to flow. She continued to fight the creation when he was stuck or either like paralyzed. After she managed to banish Wilson for good, the creation suddenly grabbed her and she gasped. She struggled to break free and gasped loudly as she felt sudden sharp pain ever. As the creature threw her on the floor, Ian looked and felt weak, and her sight was bad. She has no legs. She panted in shock and felt suddenly tears flowing down her cheeks from her golden glowing eyes. As she felt no hope anymore, she was sure that this was over for her. She didn't succeed in saving Bendy, her love. As she watched the ugly creature coming closer, he was suddenly attacked. Ian couldn't believe her eyes. It was the ink demon. Ian watched how the ink demon killed the creation of Wilson, and just like that, it was over. Finally. The ink demon grinned evilly at her as he came closer to her, but stopped where he was. Ian looked confused at him, and then the ink demon took a small demon out in his big palm hand with long finger claws. Ian's eyes went wide. It was Bendy, her Bendy. He looked to be unconscious and even beaten up with bruises and cuts. Ian covered her mouth with her hand. The ink demon then tossed Bendy in the air as if he was a toy, and Ian just snapped. She pushed herself, but grunted as she fell, and realized that she didn't have legs. Oh yeah. The ink demon laughed at her, and Ian snapped at him. What did you do to him? The ink demon said nothing, and threw Bendy quite harshly on the floor in the corner of this room. Ian cried out Bendy's name as she crawled at him. The ink demon was about to murder Ian on the spot when suddenly someone attacked him. He growled and turned to face who did this, when suddenly he was punched in the face, and that's when a real fight began. Chapter 25. I Love You. It was Tom that attacked, and he was controlling a giant searcher that had legs. What a gigantic one. How come Ian missed this while adventuring? Ian saw that others came out as well, such as Allison, who was busy shooting, but when no more bullets were left, she had to fight with her sword. Tom was busy controlling the giant searcher to find the ink demon. Ian was questioning how the ink demon tried to kill her. Why though? Maybe he lost interest in her. That may be the case. Or maybe he wanted to end Ian's suffering. Ian crawled up to unconscious little Bendy, and once she reached up to him, she took him gently into her arms and held him tightly. He didn't seem to respond, as if he was dead. Ian's heart began to ache. Was he? No, he couldn't be. That's when a growl was heard, and an exhale as the ink demon collapsed on the ground. Ian looked up while holding Bendy, and the ink demon was dead. She didn't know how to feel. Remorse, guilty, angry, happy, sad, As Allison got down along with Henry, Heidi, and even Porter, Tom got out of the big searcher and checked the ink demon's condition. He looked up at Allison and nodded, who nodded back at him. Ian looked back at Bendy, laying in her arms, as she began to cry. He couldn't be dead, right? He couldn't be. He was a real living cartoon, just like everyone here. In the corner of her eye, the others walked up to her with sad looks on their faces. As they surrounded Ian with dead Bendy in her arms, they bowed their heads in respect, but also that they were sad upon learning that Bendy was dead. Ian continued to cry as there was a huge silence in the room. Even the big surgeon joined the crowd and bowed his head in respect and sadness. Allison couldn't help but cry. For the baddest angel, she finds it sad and hugs Tom, who hugged her back in response. Ian cried and sniffed as she tried to control her breathing, but it was not easy for her to stop, since her true love was dead in her arms. As her inked hand lay pressed against his chest, she said, "I will always love you, Bendy." Ian had her eyes closed, that she didn't realize the fluttered eyes of Bendy were opening very slowly. They were fluttering as he was slowly wakening up. Others saw this and were smiling happily, and as Allison was about to take Ian's attention for a moment, Bendy took it instead by placing his gloved hand on top of Ian's hand. Ian gasped softly and looked at Bendy, who was looking at her with his usual smile, but it was full of love, just like his eyes. "I love you too, Ian, forever and always." Ian smiled widely. "Bendy!" She then hugged him tight and close as she burst the feelings that she kept inside. The others cheered, and Bendy clucked as he hugged Ian back. After they pulled away, Bendy pulled her in for a kiss, and she kissed him back. What a joyful moment to be remembered. The others kneeled down, and everyone got into a group hug, causing everyone to laugh in happiness. The end. There you have it, guys. The story, Revival Darling, has come to an end. This was the final chapter of this fan fiction. I gotta say, I enjoyed it so much, and I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. Now, here comes the big question. What other spooky fan fictions you'd like me to read? And don't you worry, maybe I'll find some much longer than this one. So you won't think that this one was a bit short for you. But I really liked it, and I'm sure you did too. So thank you so much for listening to me, guys. And I'll be waiting your comments in the comments down below and in my community of what other fan fictions would you like me to read for you. Until next time, my sweet lovers. Bye.